Welcome to Neural Nexus Podcast, where we explore the hottest topics shaping the world. Let's dive in.
Okay, so right off the bat, we're diving into some pretty intense global economic stuff today.
Yeah.
President Trump's tariffs and all the craziness happening around the world because of them.
It's been a wild week for sure.
Seriously, wild. We've been combing through a ton of news.
Yeah.
Trying to get to the heart of it all.
What does it really mean?
Exactly. From places like CNBC and AP.
Those are good sources.
Yeah, solid stuff. So, we're bringing you the good stuff.
Definitely.
So the goal today is to help everyone understand what these tariffs actually mean.
Right.
Like right now, what are the consequences?
Yeah, and without getting lost in all the little details.
Exactly, because it's changing every minute,
It's moving so fast.
Super fast. So let's just unpack this whole thing.
Sounds good.
So what really jumps out is how quickly everything's happening.
Oh, for sure.
Tariffs announced, boom, markets react.
Instantly.
It's almost instant, which I guess shows how connected everything is.
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of crazy to see it play out in real time.
It really highlights those global connections, yeah?
So let's get into the specifics of these tariffs.
Okay.
Because, Trump's really been pushing them lately.
He has.
Last Wednesday, there were reports that he basically announced tariffs on everything.
Whoa.
Literally every country in the world. That's a direct quote.
That's a pretty bold statement.
Right. Whoa, where do we even begin with that?
It definitely grabs your attention.
It does.
But yeah, the real impact is in the details.
Okay, so let's talk details.
Let's arc it down.
China's a big one, obviously.
Huge.
There's talk of a new 50% tariff.
50%.
Yeah, if they don't back down on their own tariffs by tomorrow, April 8th.
Tomorrow. Wow, that's a tight deadline.
I know, right? And get this, if that happens, the total tariff on Chinese goods could be 104%.
104. That's over 100%.
Yeah, more than double the price.
Well, that's massive.
Right, how does that even work?
Well, the existing 34% was already seen as pretty intense. Ken Langdon called it too aggressive, too soon.
He did not hold back.
Nope. And now adding another 50% on top of that.
Oof.
Yeah, that's going to seriously impact the cost of Chinese goods.
Makes you wonder how businesses will handle it.
Totally.
Will prices just go way up for us?
It's possible they might try to absorb the cost or find new suppliers.
Or maybe a bit of both.
Yeah, it's a tough situation all around.
And it's not just China either, right?
Nope, not at all.
Langone had some choice words about the 46% import duty on Vietnam.
Let me guess.
Bullshit.
He's not afraid to speak his mind.
Not at all. And then there's the 25% on cars and car parts from Canada.
Oh, yeah. Canada's not happy about that.
They're already taking it to the WTO.
The World Trade Organization.
Yeah, that's the big international group that deals with trade disputes.
Ah, right. Like a global court for trade issues.
Exactly. And then this one really surprised me.
What's that?
A 17% tariff on Israel.
Israel. Seriously.
Yeah, announced just last week. Even after Israel said they'd scrap their own tariffs on us.
That's interesting, especially given how close our countries usually are.
Right. It's like these tariffs are going everywhere.
Seems like it.
Yeah, not just targeting specific problems or anything.
More like a big, broad approach.
Exactly. And there's more. A 29% tariff on stuff going to the U.S. from Pakistan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, their stock exchange actually stopped trading for a while because of it.
Had to hit pause.
Yeah, so sometimes they do that when things are super volatile to prevent panic selling.
Makes sense. It's like a circuit breaker.
Yeah, exactly. And we can't forget about Europe.
Right.
There's already 20% tariff on European goods and a 25% one on their cars.
So much going on with trade right now.
It's a lot to keep track of. But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
Trump's not backing down.
No kidding.
He even rejected the EU's offer to drop tariffs on both sides.
Really? That seems like a good deal.
Right. 0 for 0, they called it.
Simple and straightforward.
Yeah, but Trump said something like, nope, not enough, they're taking advantage of us.
Wow, so he's really sticking to his guns.
Definitely. He keeps saying it's not sustainable for the U.S. to lose $1.9 trillion on trade.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, it's the whole U.S. trade deficit, but still.
Shows how much he cares about this issue.
For sure. And then there's Peter Navarro, one of his advisors.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
He was talking about Vietnam's offer to drop their tariffs to 0%.
Oh, okay.
But he said it's not good enough because of what he called non-tariff cheating.
Non-tariff cheating. What does that even mean?
He mentioned things like VAT and Chinese goods being routed through Vietnam to avoid tariffs.
Ah, I see.
Sneaky, sneaky.
So basically he's saying even with 0% tariffs, there are other ways they could be getting an advantage.
Exactly. And he also said it won't take long to bring manufacturing back to the U.S.
That sounds pretty optimistic.
Right. Like, history shows it's not that simple.
Yeah, bringing back manufacturing on a large scale.
It's tough.
Takes time, infrastructure, workforce training.
And the whole global supply chain, right?
Super complicated.
Yeah. So I don't know about won't take long.
I mean, I get the sentiment,
Yeah.
but it's not just flipping a switch.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But then you have Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary.
Okay, what's his take?
He's kind of framing these tariffs as like a starting point for negotiations.
Ah, so more strategic.
Yeah, he said they could go on into June
Oh, could say.
and that almost 70 countries have reached out to talk.
Wow, so a lot of people are worried.
Seems like it. He also said he and the U.S. Trade Representative, Jamieson Greer, will be talking to Japan.
Interesting, so some direct diplomacy is happening.
Definitely. And the White House said they're open to negotiations with countries that respond positively.
So there's an incentive to play ball.
Yeah, for sure. Then there's Stephen Mirren, another economic advisor.
Okay, what did he have to say?
This one's interesting.
I'm intrigued.
He said the best way to help the U.S. is for other countries to just accept the tariffs.
What? Like, don't even retaliate.
Exactly. No retaliation, just take it.
That's bold.
Right. He even laid out 5 options for what he called burden sharing.
Burden sharing. Like, we share the burden of these tariffs.
Not really sharing if only one side is actually burdened.
Yeah, that's not really sharing, is it?
Nope. He also mentioned things like investing in U.S. factories.
Okay, that's a bit more traditional.
Yeah, but that first one, just accepting the tariffs.
That's pretty out there.
Totally. Oh, and one last thing on the policy side.
Shoot.
Trump's going to veto the Trade Review Act of 2025.
What does that do?
It would give Congress more power over his tariffs.
Ah, so he wants to keep control.
Definitely.
Makes sense, given how much he's using them.
Exactly. Okay, so that's the rundown on the tariffs themselves.
It's a lot.
A lot. But now let's talk about the markets.
Because things went nuts on Monday.
They did. April 7th was not a good day.
Globally, stocks took a huge hit.
Yeah, it was a clear sign that investors are worried.
Makes sense. They don't like uncertainty.
Nope, and this is definitely uncertain.
Yeah, tariffs mean big changes for trade.
And for the whole global economy, right?
Exactly. That's why everyone's nervous.
Okay, so in the U.S., the stock market closed lower.
How much lower?
The Dow Jones was down 0.9%,
Oh.
and the S&P 500 fell by 0.2%.
Not huge drops, but still.
Yeah, and the NASDAQ actually went up a tiny bit, like 0.1%.
So tech was doing a little better.
A little, but it was a super volatile day.
I bet. Remember that false report about a tariff pause?
Oh, yeah, that caused a huge swing
Totally. Shows how sensitive everyone is right now.
to any news, even if it's wrong.
Yeah, the anxiety is high.
Definitely. But compared to Asia, our market was calm.
Oh, yeah. How bad was it over there?
They called it a bloodbath.
Yikes. That's intense.
Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index plunged 13.2%.
13.2%. That's huge.
Yeah, worst day since 1997.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Shanghai's Composite lost 7.3%. Taiwan's TAIEX down 9.7%.
Ouch.
South Korea's Kospi fell 5.6%. Australia's down 4.2%.
Like a domino effect.
And India's indexes both dropped around 5% initially.
So widespread.
Yeah, these Asian economies rely heavily on trade.
Makes sense why they'd be hit harder.
Right. Especially places like Hong Kong and Taiwan.
They're super dependent on exports.
And global supply chains, right?
Exactly. So any disruption is a big deal for them.
Definitely. But Europe wasn't spared either.
Oh no, what happened there?
Germany's DAX index closed down 4.1%,
Okay, that's significant.
but it was down over 10% at one point.
Whoa, so it recovered a bit, but still.
Yeah, France's CAC 40 lost 4.8%, and Britain's FTSE 100 tumbled 4.4%.
The FTSE 100, that's their main index, right?
Yeah, and it hit its lowest level in over a year.
So things are looking pretty grim over there, too.
Not great. Basically, it was a global stock market retreat.
Everyone was running for cover.
Pretty much. And it's not just the markets reacting.
Right. There are other consequences, too.
Countries are taking action.
Like what?
Canada, for example, they're not just complaining.
They're taking to the WTO, right?
Exactly. They're filing a formal dispute over the auto tariffs.
So they're not messing around.
Nope. And the European Union is gearing up to respond too.
How so?
They're planning a vote on how to retaliate.
Okay, that makes sense.
But they're also looking beyond the U.S.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
They want to strengthen trade with other partners,
Diversifying their options? Smart move.
and they're setting up a task force to watch out for dumping.
Dumping.
Yeah, that's when countries sell stuff super cheap in other markets.
Ah, right, to undercut local businesses.
Exactly. So they're expecting some major shifts in trade patterns.
It seems likely, yeah.
The UK and Singapore are also on the same page.
Really?
Yeah, their prime ministers issued a joint statement,
Saying what?
basically that no one wins in a trade war,
True.
and that they'll work together more through bilateral agreements and trading blocs.
So they're doubling down on cooperation.
Exactly. It's like they're sending a message.
A message of, we're not going down this road.
Yeah. And Japan is taking it really seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Their Nikkei 225 index lost almost 8%.
Ouch.
And get this, they actually suspended trading for a bit.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah, things were getting crazy.
Clearly.
And their prime minister, Ishiba, talked directly to Trump,
What did he say?
expressed strong concern that the tariffs would hurt Japanese investment in the U.S.
So it's not just about trade, but also investment.
Right. And he urged Trump to rethink things.
Bold move.
Definitely. And Japan's sending a negotiating team over here.
So they're trying to work things out diplomatically.
Yeah, they're definitely not ignoring this.
Makes sense. They're a major U.S. ally.
For sure. And then there's Pakistan. Remember, their stock exchange had to halt trading.
Yeah, after that 5% drop.
It's a pretty big deal when that happens.
It is. Shows how much panic there can be.
And it's not just governments reacting.
Right, businesses and financial institutions, too.
Totally. Like Goldman Sachs said, these tariffs might have already caused irreversible damage.
That's a strong statement.
Yeah, they're not messing around.
And Goldman Sachs, they know their stuff.
Exactly. Then there's Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase.
What'd he say?
He thinks these tariffs will slow down economic growth.
Makes sense. More barriers to trade usually means slower growth.
Yeah, and then there's Bill Ackman.
Isn't he a big Trump supporter?
He is, but even he's worried.
Really?
Yeah, he said America could be on the brink of an economic nuclear winter because of these tariffs.
Economic nuclear winter. That's a pretty intense analogy.
Right. It shows how seriously people are taking this.
Even those who usually agree with Trump.
Exactly. So it's clear these tariffs are having a huge impact
Globally.
on markets, on international relations, on everything.
It's a big story.
Let's shift gears now and talk about specific sectors,
Okay, get into the nitty-gritty.
because certain industries are really feeling the heat.
Like which ones?
Well, car prices are expected to go up.
Makes sense with the tariffs on imported cars and parts.
Yeah, it's going to hit both manufacturers and consumers.
So if you're thinking of buying a car soon,
Maybe wait a bit and see what happens.
could be a good idea.
Yeah. And the airlines are bracing for impact too.
Airlines, how are they affected?
They're worried about people traveling less, especially internationally.
Makes sense. It's expensive enough already.
Yeah, and the tariffs are adding to the uncertainty.
So they may have to cut their financial forecasts.
Yeah, airline stocks have already dropped.
Investors are definitely spooked.
For sure. One CEO even called these tariffs disappointingly stupid and illogical.
Whoa, straight to the point.
No sugarcoating there.
Nope. A lot of business leaders are worried about these tariffs.
Yeah, disrupting supply chains, increasing costs, making it harder to compete.
It's a valid concern.
Definitely. Even the Magnificent Seven tech stocks are showing a mixed bag.
Interesting. Those are usually pretty solid performers.
They are, but even they're not immune.
Shows how widespread the uncertainty is.
Yeah, some tech companies rely more on global trade than others.
Makes sense.
Then there's the oil situation.
Oil prices have been dropping, right?
Yeah. Benchmark U.S. crude is below $60 a barrel now.
And that's because of?
Fears of an economic slowdown, partly due to the trade barriers.
So people are worried about a recession.
Pretty much. But Trump's actually claiming it as a win.
A win? How so?
He's saying it's because of reduced demand due to those recession fears.
That's a unique way to spin it.
Right. Like usually falling oil prices are seen as a bad sign.
Yeah, it usually means economic activity is slowing down.
But he's focusing on the lower prices for consumers.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
It is. But Canada's not buying it.
No, they're still fighting the auto tariffs.
Yeah, they're saying it violates America's obligations under GATT.
KTT. That's another one of those big trade agreements, right?
Yeah, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade.
So they're saying the U.S. is breaking the rules?
Basically. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out,
Definitely. It could set a precedent for future trade disputes.
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and remember the U.S. steel deal that Biden blocked?
Yeah, what about it?
Trump's ordered a new review of it.
Interesting timing.
Right. Seems like he's connecting trade policy with broader industrial goals.
Makes sense. Steel is a key industry.
Exactly. And then there was that whole thing with Bill Ackman.
The economic nuclear winter guy?
Yeah, he accused the Commerce Secretary, Lutnick, of profiting from the economic downturn.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, because of his firm's bond holdings.
So Ackman was saying Lutnick was actually benefiting from the bad economy,
Yeah, but he later took it back.
retracted the accusation.
Yeah, but it shows how much tension there is around all this.
People are on edge.
Definitely. Oh, and this one's kind of ironic.
What's that?
Trump's stake in his social media company, Truth Social, has plummeted,
No way. How much?
like 40% since these tariff fears started.
Wow, that's worse than the overall market.
Yeah, it's like his own policies are hurting his own company.
That's gotta sting.
Right. It shows no one's immune to the market's reaction.
True. That. And what about other companies?
Apple, Starbucks, Caterpillar, Tesla, they've all seen their stock prices fall.
Big names, all hurting.
Yeah, these are major players in the U.S. economy.
So it's not just small businesses affected.
Nope. And even copper prices have taken a hit.
Copper? Why copper?
It's a key industrial metal.
Ah,
So when its price falls, it usually means people are worried about future economic activity.
not a good sign.
Nope. And some companies are taking drastic action.
Like who?
Jaguar Land Rover is halting all shipments to the U.S. in April,
Because of the tariffs.
specifically because of the 25% tariff on imported cars.
Wow, that's a direct hit.
Yeah, it shows how these tariffs are causing real-world problems.
Definitely. What about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies?
Oh, yeah, they've been dropping too.
Figured as much. They tend to be volatile.
Yeah, but some analysts are saying Bitcoin's acting more like a tech stock than a safe haven.
Interesting. So it's not providing the usual protection against market uncertainty.
Nope. Okay, let's move on to the political and diplomatic reactions.
All right, what are people saying?
Well, two Republican senators, Mike Lee and Ron Johnson, publicly encouraged Trump to accept the EU's tariff offer.
Really? So even some Republicans are against this?
Yeah, it shows there's not full support even within his own party.
Makes sense. These tariffs have a broad impact.
They do. And Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, was just at the White House.
I heard about that.
He said Israel plans to eliminate the trade deficit with the U.S. and eliminate trade barriers.
So he's focused on fixing this trade issue.
Definitely. Seems like it was a big part of his discussions with Trump.
I bet. And what about Pakistan?
Well, despite the tariffs, Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with their deputy PM,
About what?
economic cooperation.
So they're trying to maintain good relations despite the trade tensions.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance.
For sure.
But when it comes to China, experts are saying they're unlikely to back down.
Oh boy, that sounds like trouble.
Yeah, predictions are for a collision course and a slow-motion spiral in trade relations.
Not good.
Nope. The Japanese prime minister even called it a national crisis.
Wow, they're really feeling the pressure.
Definitely.
Mhm.
And the UK is trying to do a bit of everything.
Like what?
They still want to negotiate a trade deal with us,
Okay,
but they're also pushing for free trade globally.
good for them.
And they're giving some support to their car industry, which is obviously hurting.
Makes sense. Got to protect our own.
Yeah. So basically, we've seen a huge global market downturn
Yeah, it's been a rough week.
and all sorts of reactions from business leaders and international partners.
Some are worried, some are angry, some are trying to find solutions.
It's a mixed bag.
And the big question is, what happens next?
Exactly. No one knows for sure how this will play out in the long run.
That's the scary part.
It is, but it's important to pay attention.
Definitely.
See how things develop and what the real consequences are.
Because this affects everyone.
It does. It's not just about big businesses and governments.
It's about jobs, prices, the whole economy.
Exactly. And what's interesting is how Trump used to always talk about the stock market.
Yeah. He loved those record highs.
But now, with the market down and his own company's value plummeting,
It's got to be awkward.
right. And then there's that suggestion from his advisor to just accept the tariffs without retaliating.
That's pretty wild.
Totally. It's like a whole new approach to trade.
Not sure how well that'll go down.
Me neither. So for you listening, the big question is, what are you watching for?
Yeah. What are the key indicators you're tracking?
How do you think this will all play out?
And how will it affect your own decisions?
Your job, your investments, your life.
Because this is global. It affects everyone.
It really does. So stay informed, stay engaged, and thanks for diving deep with us today.
Thanks for having me.